According to Fortune.com, reputable source here, roughly 30% of all Pokemon cards were printed in the last 2 years. Let me repeat that one more time. Roughly 30% of all Pokemon playing cards were printed in the last 2 years. That is 9 billion cards. 9 billion, not 9 million, 9 billion cards were produced in the last 2 years. And folks, you might be Yu-Gi-Oh fans, you might hate Pokemon, but when you look at this news, oh, is it worrisome. If you have any Pokemon from 2020 to 2022, this is the worst news that you possibly could have gotten. Is it surprising news? Absolutely not. We all knew Pokemon printing presses to oblivion, printing out cards like toilet paper. Enough for firewood for the next decade. Okay? We never knew how many Pokemon cards were actually being produced. 9 billion with a B. 30%. So you're saying over the last 20 plus years that Pokemon has been a thing and very popular throughout, right? Even in its dark days, Pokemon was still popular, okay, relatively speaking. A third, almost a third of the cards ever produced in Pokemon history were in just 2 years, the last 2 years. And for folks saying, man, these Charizards, these shiny Charizards, this wonderful high grade, there's no way that these things are going to go down and in the future they're going to be real hot commodities because modern will be vintage eventually, right? Modern will be vintage. 10 years from now, this stuff will be considered vintage and rare. When you have 9 billion cards out there, when you have 30% of all-time production produced in those years, do you really think that the demand is going to outweigh that massive supply? And this is simple economics, okay? We know the demand will always be there for Pokemon. Pokemon's demand is just so high. But when you look at the supply, the last 2 years, okay, when a third of all-time production, almost a third of all-time production is being produced in those 2 years, do you honestly expect that you're going to see a significant investment potential with that high of a supply? And look at what this Fortune feature says. It says it was printed the last 2 years. The reason? Speculative traders. Speculative traders. Okay. So, now that all these bot boys and speculative traders are out, these crypto wild people, we're left with a lot of junk. It got to the point where you couldn't even get it at Targets. You know, you couldn't even go in stores. Target had to take it off the shelves. And you're saying to me, you're screaming at this at my video right now, saying, well, you couldn't get it at Targets. It was impossible to get. So even though there's that much supply, all that demand is still there. No, it's not. The demand is not there. The demand is not what it was 1 year ago, okay? The demand was crazy, and it also was inflated demand. It was demand because people, speculative people, and bot boys were buying this stuff up just to flip and resell. And that thus prompted Pokemon Company to say, hey, we got to print these presses to oblivion. We got to make more money from this. What company is going to see stuff sell out and not produce more of it, and more of it, and more of it, and more of it? If you are a company and you have a product that everyone can't get enough of, okay, even if you have to blast the presses and keep making it, are you going to do it? It's printing dollar signs. These cards in these factories that are being printed is essentially money. They're printing money because they know they can sell it out right away. So if you're the Pokemon Company, what do you care that you produce 9 billion cards, that you produce 30%, almost 30% of all-time production the last 2 years? What do you care? All you care about is that dollar sign, right? If you are a company, you want to maximize your profit, and if people are buying it up, Why would you not produce more of it? Do you blame the Pokemon company for producing all this? No, you don't, because they're a business. And they know that they're going to put it out, it's going to sell. And until it stops selling, they will keep doing it. And finally now, coming towards the end of 2022, it seems like the demand is done. It seems like if they are to keep producing at this current level, that they are going to have a massive surplus on the market. And you see that with the new stuff. And as a Yu-Gi-Oh player and collector, and if you don't like Pokemon, why are you continuing to watch? Why do you even care about this news? If you're a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, I don't have anything to do with Pokemon. Why do I care about this? Well, the reason why is it's because it's still in the same industry, just another sector of the market. And it's very comparable to Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, the only difference is, and the reason why I liked Yu-Gi-Oh! Much more, modern Yu-Gi-Oh! The last 2 years than Pokemon, for sure, is because modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not being produced into oblivion. The closest we've seen was Ghosts from the Past 2. We definitely have seen a much higher quantity produced of Ghosts from the Past 2 than we've seen in several recent sets. Okay? Are we seeing 9 billion cards produced? I would bet the house absolutely not. Okay, even though Konami produced more Ghosts from the Past 2, I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh! Production numbers are anywhere near those of Pokemon's production numbers. Okay, it got to the point where bots kept buying, and they got sick of it. There were just too much there. They would restock every hour, to the point where even the bots had their fill. The bot boys said, this is enough. We're done. There's just too much of this Pokemon crap out here. And there's just not enough people. 9 billion cards. How many people in the world? 4? I don't know the exact number. There's not enough people in the world with the interest in Pokemon to absorb this massive influx of supply. And we look at Yu-Gi-Oh! And one of the biggest risks of modern product in general is overproduction. And we look at Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Did a good job of limiting production numbers even during this crisis, okay, where everybody's producing and everybody's making money. It looks to me, in my personal opinion, that Yu-Gi-Oh! Did a good job limiting the quantity produced. I don't know that. I have no inside information. I have no numbers, but just from what I hear and what I see, I knew right away that Pokemon is essentially Junk Wax Era 2.0. Everyone says, all my friends says, why aren't you buying Pokemon? This Pokemon's cool. Yeah, it's a shiny Charizard. It's really rare. Is it really that rare when the population of PSA 10s is 1,000? When there's 1,000 of them in 10s? Is it really that rare when everybody can pull it, even though it's seeded at, let's say, 1 per 5 boxes, for example? But when they produce millions of boxes, the quantity of that card is still very high. The quantity amount produced is still very high. Okay, it's just simply put, when everybody also is buying into it, and everyone says, Tim, why don't you buy Yu-Gi-Oh? This is great stuff. I said, no, this is modern junk. They produce too much of this. And I've been saying this on this channel for years. The last 2 years, I've been saying Pokemon is ramping the presses, and I've been saying they are producing modern junk. They are producing to oblivion. Okay, the quantity out there is nothing compared to what it was back in 1999. During its hype, during base set. It makes unlimited base set cards look spectacularly rare. Let's think about this for a second. Unlimited base set cards. Just people say, there's a lot out there. You compare it to this stuff? I'm sorry, but unlimited base set cards look super short printed compared to this nonsense. And what happened in the sport card industry back in the 90s was they produced millions and millions and millions of cards until the point where folks had enough. There were too many cards on the market. Supply was just massive. Everyone said that Ken Griffey Jr. baseball card is going to be rare one day. Everyone said that Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens baseball card is going to be rare one day. Modern junk. And I'm worried that the Pokemon industry, I guess the last 2 years, 2020 to 2022 Pokemon cards, will be, for an infinite amount of time, it seems, considered modern junk wax, which means it just will never have value because there's just too much out there. Good news for Yu-Gi-Oh! Is I don't think Konami did this. I don't think Konami ramped up the presses nearly as much as they could have done. Toon Chaos was pretty low print. Ghost from the Past was pretty low print. Toon Chaos, I should say, was extremely low print. And in Battles of Legend Armageddon, that set had low print run. It just seems like Konami could have ranked and just ramped up the presses, but they didn't, thank goodness. And that is why modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, in my personal opinion, has much better appeal than this modern Pokemon. Now, if you're a collector, it's awesome, because you can get some awesome cards real cheap. But if you ever want to invest in this Pokemon stuff, stay with the old base sets. Stay with the old... Don't get into this. That's just my personal opinion. I am not a financial advisor. I am not influencing anybody. I'm giving my personal opinion. Keep that in mind when you make your own sound decisions. Until next time, what do you think? YugiohTube signing out concerning stuff.